Welcome to our second video on digestive system. In our previous video, we laid a foundation on what digestion is all about. All right. In this second video, we are going to be looking at other parts of digestive system. Now, for digestive system of man, we know that enzymes are chemical substances that are in charge of digestion, and we have looked at examples of the enzymes we have. But what actually are enzymes? Enzymes are organic catalysts which are proteinous in nature that speeds up or lowers the rate of a chemical reaction, but they themselves remains chemically unchanged at the end of the reaction. Examples of digestive enzyme, we have ptyalin, the one that is found in saliva, which is an example of amylases. In our previous video, we said amylases are enzymes that act on carbohydrates. We have lipases. Lipases are the ones that act on fat and oil. All right. It is important to note that after digestion comes absorption. What is absorption? Absorption is the process of taking in the digested food into the walls of the villi, V-I-L-L-I, or we call it villus. Now, here is the longitudinal section through the villus. We can see that the blood capillary, that part absorbs glucose and amino acids. We also have the lacteal. The lacteal also absorbs fatty acid and glycerol, while the thin epithelium absorbs glucose. All right. It is important to know that it is not every part that absorbs the same food substances. Now, for feeding mechanism, there are some organisms we call biting and chewing mechanism. Biting and chewing mechanism is found in grasshopper, weevil, and cockroach. These organisms have mouth parts that helps them to bite and chew food. All right, which we are seeing here like hypopharynx, which act as tongue. Please, it is important to know that the hypopharynx function as tongue. The second group of organisms we have are the ones that use what we call sucking mechanism. These ones use, we also call it piercing and sucking. So sucking mechanism is found in butterfly with the aid of proboscis. We also have the absorptive mechanism. The absorptive mechanism is found in tapeworm, as you can see here. It is worthy of note that tapeworm does not suck in food through the suckers, but rather it feeds by the process of diffusion. Any organism that feeds on absorptive mechanism feeds on the process of diffusion. Example is tapeworm. All the worms in human gut are absorptive organisms. All right, it is important to know that there are parts that helps housefly, Musa domestica, that's the scientific name, Musa domestica. The mouth part, like the labium, the maxillary part, we have the compound eye there. We have other parts. It is used for sucking food. We also have the grinding mechanism. This one is found in most vertebrates and mammals. Of course, we have different types of teeth: central incisor, lateral incisor, canine. Incisors are used for cutting. The canines are used for tearing flesh, while the molars are used for grinding. So the grinding mechanism is with the aid of teeth. It's also important to note that the strongest substance in human body is the enamel. Some texts call it dentine. That is wrong. The enamel is the strongest substance in human body. But it is worthy of note that when tooth decay starts, there's no pain felt because the decay have not gotten to the pulp cavity. Pain sensation is being felt when the decay have gotten to the pulp cavity. Now, feeding mechanism in some organisms, like I said, we have different organisms with their feeding mechanism or mode of feeding. For example, we have amoeba. We looked at it from our previous video in endocytosis. This organism takes in food into the cell membrane. From there, the food vacuole is formed. As you can see, when it engulfs the food vacuole forms and digestion occurs. This organism can also be said to be holozoic in feeding. Another organism we need to see is Hydra. Hydra is also holozoic in feeding. Food is taken by the tentacle, by the nematocyst in the tentacles. All right, when it stings the organism, kills it with the nematocyst, then it is taken to the enteron for digestion. We have the ectoderm, the mesoglue, the endoderm, the gastrovascular cavity, the ovary. which is meant for reproduction. Then for the digestion we are discussing, it is important to know that digestion of food takes place in the enteron. It is worthy of note that the feeding mechanism is different from feeding habits. We have two types of feeding habits. We have fluid feeders and we have fetal feeders. Under the fluid feeders, there are organisms we call wallowers. Example is tapeworm, the ones that wallows. Then we also have the suckers. These ones belong to the what? Fluid feeders. Like I said, we have fetal feeder and we have fluid feeders. Examples of fluid feeders, we have housefly. Housefly sucks in food. It's a sucker. Now, if there is a solid food particle, housefly will need to pour saliva to melt or to dissolve it for that food to become liquid so that it can suck it in. Right? Another example of sucking organism we have is hummingbird. This is one of the smallest bird on earth. Hummingbird, if you look at the beak, you see that the beak is modified for sucking. The beak is long and curved, all right, for sucking nectar. This bird is a sucker, all right. It is worthy of note that another example of sucker is mosquitoes. We know mosquitoes to be parasites. They suck blood and then give plasmodium, which will have Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium falciparum. The most effective form of Plasmodium is Plasmodium falciparum. This one causes malaria. All right. Another one we have is ticks. It is worthy of note that ticks are the most economic important ectoparasite. Once you are asked the most economic important ectoparasite, the answer is ticks. Tick sucks blood from farm animals and even human beings. You can easily see tick in the ears of dog. If you look deep down inside the ears of dog, you see ticks. Ticks reduce the market value of farm animals because it causes irritation on their skin, etc. We also have the filter feeders. These ones create currents of water. From there, they sweep in planktons to feed on them. All right. Examples of these organisms we have mosquito larvae. Remember, mosquito larvae is a filter feeder. Mussel is another filter feeder. All right. Remember, mosquito itself is a fluid feeder, but mosquito larva is a filter feeder. Please take note of that. Another example is mussel. This one is also eaten by man as food, but it is also a filter feeder. Another filter feeder we have is duck. We have this one even in school compounds here. They can feed on land and also feed in water. When they're in body of water, they are filter feeders. They create current of water and swim in particles of food into their mouth. And another example, or last example we're going to be seeing for filter feeder is the prawns. As we can see here, prawns are filter feeders. All right. Thank you for your time. See you in